Alcohol can have an effect on us spiritually. Now, I don't mean religiously, like consuming alcohol is breaking a rule or is inherently wrong or sinful. Some religions believe that, and people practice that. Some Christians believe that alcohol is inherently wrong. I don't believe that's what we find in the Bible. So, not talking about some religious code of conduct. I'm talking about how alcohol can have an impact on our ability or our willingness to connect with God. If you listen to or watch some of my videos on the YouTube channel, you'll hear me bring up connection a lot. We were made for connection, and we need connection. We need to connect to ourselves, to truth and reality, to others, and to God. When alcohol starts to impair our thinking and feeling, our judgment, our decision making, it affects or impairs our connection to these things, including God. Let me break this down. When we get to the point of intoxication, whether a slight buzz or drunk, we are starting to numb ourselves to reality, and it pulls us out of what is happening in us and around us in the present. Being present means paying attention to what is happening now, in me and around me, being able to attune to what others are sharing and saying and feeling and the messages they're giving off, all of that. My mind is not on yesterday. It's not on tomorrow. It's not on a problem that isn't right in front of me. We are aware of what is happening now, whether good or bad. We're present when we're able to process all this as best as we can. Being intoxicated hijacks most of this. We're not feeling as much anymore. We are limited in our empathy. Our judgment is off, and we're really only concerned with a small piece of what is actually happening right in front of us. We talked about this and how alcohol affects our emotions, our mental health, our relationships, and the truth is when alcohol affects all these things, it affects our connection to God as well. When we're present and connected to reality, we will connect with God and what we need now. Because we are aware, we can rely. This is part of what Jesus talks about when he talks about abiding in him. This is how Jesus describes our relationship with the Father, abiding, being connected, depending, relying. If we numb ourselves to so much of what we're experiencing in the moment, we're not going to abide or depend. We are going to miss out. Also, emotions impact our connection with God. Almost every single emotion requires a response. And part of that response is turning to God and trusting him in ways, or thanking him, or praising him. This relational aspect of God is in part worked out with our response to what we're feeling. If we numb ourselves to what we feel, we miss out on connecting to God because of our lack of awareness of what is going on inside us. Also, our mental health impacts our connection with God. Alcohol affects how we think, what we think about, what we fixate on, if we obsess over something, lots of stuff. Mental health issues take place in the mind, and alcohol doesn't help us resolve any of them. Alcohol typically hinders good judgment as well. So basically, our decisions are being impacted by our struggles we find ourselves in, and regardless of whether we're drinking or not. And if we're drinking, our judgment is off. None of this enables or helps us connect with God. Let's talk about shame and connecting to God. Shame, in its very nature, is disconnecting. Shame is based on the perception or a belief of having actually done something wrong. The experience of shame can drive us away from others, ourselves, truth, and God. So drinking, especially when we drink to intoxication, it's going to enable and lead to behaviors and actions or choices that can cause a lot of shame. At least they did for me. This is why the foundation of many addictions is shame. There's a cycle in addiction driven by shame and then resorting to something to numb and escape the pain, which then leads to more shame. You don't need to be an addict to find yourself in a similar cycle. Shame leads to drinking, which leads to shame. Because shame motivates and enables disconnection, this affects our connection to God in powerful ways. We pull away, we hide, and we isolate, and so we do not go to him when we need him. From my own experience as a Christian, when I stopped drinking, it didn't fix whatever problems I had or issues I had regarding emotions, mental health, relationships, and my connection with God. Frankly speaking, not drinking doesn't make you more spiritual, moral, ethical, godly, upright, whatever words people use to describe some increase in their status between them and God. At least that's not what I believe. But this is what I believe. Not drinking did remove a lot of problems, a lot of hurdles and barriers that were holding me back from growing or healing or improving many of these areas of my life, including spirituality or my connection with God. When I removed alcohol, along with other things that I'd been forced to give up or stop using or doing, I found myself experiencing so much more of life. At first, this is really hard to handle. When you're not drinking and numbing, you're feeling emotions and you're encountering stress and you're more present. And there are demands related to each of these. These demands gave me an opportunity to grow up, as I've talked about, and also lean on God in new ways. And I believe that this is why going alcohol-free is truly worth it. It creates opportunities to change so many areas of our lives, including our connection to God and our dependence on Him. It's still up to us to take that step, to make the choice to depend on and lean on God in our life, whatever we're encountering. But those choices are no longer hindered by the effects of alcohol on our health, our mind, our heart, or our relationships. So that is how alcohol can affect us spiritually. And I believe when we go alcohol free, we remove a big hurdle that can sometimes hinder us from going to Him, depending on Him, and growing in our relationship with Him. So that is it for today. I hope it gives you a little bit of a different perspective on how alcohol can affect us. And as always, thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.